Living Consciouslyy presents Soul-versations.
Logotherapy, the word logo comes from the Greek word logos, which means meaning. And it's also referred to commonly as the meaning therapy, where the idea is to understand the meaning and purpose of life. Viktor Frankl started practicing as a behavioral therapist in a hospital in Germany. Whenever he would talk to people, they would always ask this question: why did this happen to me? And that why kind of triggered a lot of things in Frankl's mind. And even though the logotherapy is not a religious psychology, but it lays a lot of emphasis on the importance of spirituality in life. Every morning when you wake up, you ask yourself, why do I need to work? Why do I need to go and do a job? Or why do I need to go and study? Or why do I need to do the things which the world expects me to do? So the question is why? And that gets solved when you understand the meaning of your own life. World War II started, he was put in the concentration camp, and he survived in a situation where people were dying. He didn't have food to eat for days together. They would not have medicines. They would not have sleep. They would be sleeping with dead bodies. They would be sleeping with animals. Despite all of this, he came out victorious out of this entire thing because he implemented the concepts of logotherapy in his life. And thereafter, he shared his experiences and wrote this amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning, which became one of the best sellers and was voted amongst the top 100 books of the last century.
So, I hope you liked the recap of this conversation. I'm amazed by how beautiful logotherapy is. So again, I welcome you all to this conversation, which is called Soul-versations by Living Consciouslyy. I'm Pranav, part of Living Consciouslyy Foundation. And in this conversation, we will be talking about different emotions and different aspects of life and how logotherapy helps us in sailing through this journey called life. We have been committed to mental and emotional health and spiritual well-being since 2019. And our mission has always been to provide transformative learning experiences through this platform. About Nitin, Nitin is a certified logotherapist from Viktor Frankl Institute of Logotherapy from Vienna. And with years of experience sharing transformative principles worldwide, Nitin is going to unpack the profound philosophy of logotherapy and how it can help us navigate life's most challenging moments. And this podcast is not just a conversation, but it's an invitation to join this 5-week Logotherapy in Action program, which is going to start in the new year, 12th of January. And I hope that this conversation helps you decide whether this program is for you or not. So let's go towards the conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye-bye. Welcome, Nitin, to this conversation about our logotherapy course. Let's go towards our first question. I'm really excited about it. It's basically about origin and significance of logotherapy. And could you take us on a journey back to the origin of logotherapy and how did Viktor Frankl's extraordinary experience in concentration camp give birth to this profound approach to understanding human meaning?
Sure. So firstly, thank you for having me, and it's exciting to actually come back to conduct another course on logotherapy. The first one was so successful, and I'm glad people were able to kind of relate to it and find merit in logotherapy as a concept. So yeah, I mean, logotherapy is almost a little more than 100 years old now in the world, and it was coined as a term originally known as meaning therapy. Logotherapy, the word logo comes from the Greek word logos, which means meaning. And it's also referred to commonly as the meaning therapy, where the idea is to understand the meaning and purpose of life as to why do you wake up every morning? What is the reason for us getting up and getting going every day in our lives? And that's something that is critical to keep human beings going. It's more about finding the motivation and the purpose. So it's interesting to understand. In a nutshell, I will give you a quick background of where logotherapy started, and for that we need to go a little back into psychology itself. As we know that Sigmund Freud is the father of modern day psychology, and he in a nutshell said that anything and everything that happens in human life revolves around the whole concept of seeking pleasure. And if human beings find pleasure in the activities they are doing, or in the sufferings that they are going through, they will be able to kind of overcome that very easily. Even though obviously it's a much deeper psychology and a much deeper science, but in a nutshell, for layman, for the common man, this is a clear definition of going after pleasure. A student of Sigmund Freud was Alfred Adler, who actually who's the founder of the behavioral therapy and behavioral school of psychology. And he challenged this notion, and he said that no, it's not pleasure that human beings go after, but we go after the whole concept of seeking power. So the human mind runs after power. It could be any kind of power: political power, financial power, power in a relationship, power over your juniors in office, at workplaces, and so on and so forth. So anything that makes you more powerful in any form, and your mind and your brain triggers that yes, there is power coming, you are becoming, or you're feeling more powerful, you will go after that activity in life. And that is the crux of behavioral therapy, where psychologists around the world actually use this notion to tell people that it's all right if you're suffering through your work. It's perfectly fine, because you are probably getting financially powerful, or you're gaining more experience, and that experience will give you a better position, more powerful position in your organization, and so on and so forth. And that kind of consoles the human mind that yes, it is okay to continue in this path. A student of Alfred Adler was Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl also believed in the whole idea of seeking power, and started practicing as a behavioral therapist, as a psychiatrist, in a hospital in Germany, where he used to live. And as he was practicing this, he noticed a very peculiar concept. And he said that whenever he would talk to people, they would not get totally convinced about the idea of seeking power or pleasure, for that matter. They would always ask this question: why did this happen to me? Right? And that why kind of triggered a lot of things in Frankl's mind, and he started doing research, and he started reading more about it, started studying more about it, and he found a profound connection between the why of life and how life has been explained in various religious scriptures. Right? And even though the logotherapy is not a religious psychology, but it lays a lot of emphasis on the importance of religion in our lives, on the importance of spirituality in our life. Because every time we ask this question, every time we go through something in life, okay, we always first ask this question: why did this happen to me? Right? To give you a simple example, if somebody, unfortunately has an accident, right, and he's in the hospital, at that time, the question doesn't trigger in his mind that, okay, now I'm in the hospital, I can enjoy myself, I can derive some pleasures of being in the hospital. No. We also don't think that, no, now I'm in the hospital, now I'm going to eat good food, I'm going to get good medicines, I'll become more powerful. No. What comes to your mind is, why did this happen to me? Was I at fault? Was somebody else at fault? Was it my mistake? Was it somebody else's mistake? So the question that triggers in our mind always is why? The same thing, I'm sure even you go through this. Every morning when you wake up, you ask yourself, why do I need to work? Why do I need to go and do a job? Or why do I need to go and study as a student? Or why do I need to kind of do the things which the world expects me to do? Why am I supposed to take care of my family? Why am I the only one taking care of my family? And why am I responsible for all these things, right? So the question is why? And that gets solved when you understand the meaning of what's happening in your life, what you understand the meaning of your own life. So Frankl started writing about this, and he created this amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning, which he later on published, of course, in the 50s after he was out of the concentration camp. And to take you back to that story, where he was writing this book, he had finished the major concepts on logotherapy, and that is when World War II started, and he was arrested. He was put in the concentration camps, and he survived. The good part about that now was that for 2.5 years, he was able to literally live through every single concept of logotherapy. In a situation where people were dying, He didn't know whether he's going to be alive the very next minute or not. He didn't have food to eat for days together. They would not have clean drinking water for days together. They would not have medicines. They would not have sleep. They would not have the conditions. They would be sleeping with dead bodies. They would be sleeping with animals. They would be made to eat things which human beings cannot even imagine, right? Despite all of this, he came out victorious out of this entire thing because he implemented the concepts of logotherapy in his life. And he practiced that. He lived those 2.5 years in the concentration camp through logotherapy. He kind of performed logotherapy on himself. And every day he would simply ask himself, why am I still alive? And there were two reasons. He was alive because he had a deep and an inner desire to reunite with his wife and unborn child. When he was taken into custody, his wife was pregnant, and in 2.5 years while he was in the camp, every single moment of his life, he had this urge to go and meet his wife and his child. And he would imagine the child growing up, and he would imagine him or her smiling, etc. Very unfortunate that the wife was executed in the very first week itself of her arrest, because as you know, she was kind of not rendered useless, of course, by the Germans at that time, by the Nazis at that time. And but Frankl didn't know this. So that, number one, kept motivating him every day that no, I need to go out and I need to meet them. Number two, this book that he had written, Man's Search for Meaning, which had concepts of logotherapy, was with him when he was arrested. And on the day he was arrested, this book was torn into pieces by the jailer who took him in. And this had an immense impact on Frankl. And he got this as a task on himself that no matter what happens, he needs to go back, he needs to write the concept again, and he needs to kind of bring this to light, bring this to people, because he strongly believed the world needed the concept of logotherapy, the world needed meaning therapy to come out. And that became his second motivation, that became his second why, of why he survived the concentration camps. So because of these two reasons, and these two powerful reasons, he was able to come out. And then of course he added the autobiographical part of logotherapy, which became the practical application of logotherapy. So in reality, Frankl became the founder of logotherapy, but he also became the first recipient of logotherapy, in a way, because he practiced it on himself, in a conscious manner, of course. And thereafter he shared his experiences and wrote this amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning, which became a Bible and became one of the bestsellers and was voted amongst the top 100 books of the last century by the US Congress. And that's how logotherapy kind of came into action.
Yeah. Wow. That's a beautiful, beautiful journey. And the fact that he embodied each and every principle, that's why it relates to the people who read this book. I believe that's the case, and that's why it resonates with this many people. I just read that it has sold 16 million copies all over worldwide, and this is one of the most selling books in the world. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. In fact, the numbers keep going up and down because there have been so many languages that have come out with the book itself.
Yes.
The English version, I believe, is 16 million, but there are much worse, I believe. And of course, now with the growth of online and the digital part, I mean, of course, the numbers are skyrocketing, and we see more and more people now getting used or now getting exposed to the idea of logotherapy, because they realize that it is such a simple science.
Yeah. I
mean, if you know why you wake up every morning, I mean, you can go through any journey of life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's if I could again explain this in a very simple nutshell, when we plan a trip for a vacation to someplace, okay, let's say you're going to Europe for a vacation, there are so many steps involved in going to our vacation, right?
Yeah.
You have to apply for a visa, you have to make your reservations, you have to book your hotels, you have to do your research, you have to create an itinerary, book tickets, the entire gamut. And then the whole idea of going to apply for a visa, getting the visa, then going to the airport. taking that journey, taking that long flight and going all of this. But none of this is stressful to us.
Yes.
Why? Because we know the why of what we're doing. We know that we are going to explore a new place. We know we are going on a vacation. We know we are going to love a new experience in our life, right? And hence the stress of travel is not considered as a stress.
Yes.
It's a happy experience. So people talk about travel not as a stressful experience, even though, trust me, it causes you more stress
Yes.
than a lot of other things that you do in your life. However, if you talk to some people, and which is happening around the world, that 30 minutes or 40 minutes or 50 minutes of travel time from your home to your workplace, is super stressful.
Yes.
As compared to that, planning a vacation to Europe and going to vacation is actually 10 times more stressful. But that's not considered stress. Why? Because that's an experience you're going for, right? So if you know the why of what you're doing, what are you expecting out of it, what you're getting out of it, right? That new experience of life that you get out of it, you will not find it stressful. And that is why Frankl talks about this, that you should know the why of your life. You should know the meaning of what you're doing in your life. And then all of life's experiences will become very happy for you. So suffering will cease to be suffering the moment it finds meaning, as Frankl puts it. Right? So find the meaning. Why are you suffering in life? Is there a reason for your suffering? And if you find that meaning and your heart and your mind says, yes, this is the reason why I should go through this, then it is not suffering anymore. Then it's an experience you're going through.
Beautiful. Now that brings me, you have already, I wanted to talk about this different psychological approach based on pleasure and power, but you have already talked about it. So the next question would be that we very often, when we talk about logotherapy, we talk about will to meaning, and you have already spoken about it. And this is a very revolutionary concept. So could you break this down for our listeners who are listening right now?
So will to meaning is nothing but finding the meaning of your life. Right? It's the approach towards finding that why. Right? So the concept of will to meaning is very simple. Know the why of your life. If you know the why of your life, as in Japanese culture, they talk about knowing your ikigai, right? If you know your ikigai, everything else falls into place, right? What's the reason for you to wake up? What's the reason for you to do things which you are doing in your life? And trust me, over the last many years that I have spoken to so many clients, and when I coach people, when I ask them, why are you doing what you're doing? They don't have answers. And it's not just them. Even I don't have answers. When I look back at my life and I ask myself, maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, before I got introduced to the concept of logotherapy, why was I doing so many things in life? I probably didn't have the answers at that time. Now, of course, I can break down and say, okay, I did this because it led me to this, right? But overall, the kind of stress that I used to go through as an individual, okay, I wouldn't say stress has gone out of life. In fact, there is a need. You should have happy stress in your life as well. But now the ability to understand the meaning of life, okay, has helped me to lower the stress levels of my own life per se. Right? Because now I am able to understand why am I doing certain things. There is a clear purpose, there is a clear meaning around it. So if you know the why of your life, and that is what will to meaning talks about, that you should have that urge to find the reason of what's happening. Don't accept things just because somebody else has told you. Right? Just because somebody else told you have to do a job, that's the end of your life. Okay, but you, in deep within you, you know that you probably want to start a business, or you want to be an entrepreneur, or maybe you just want to be an actor, or you want to be a sports person, or you want to be something else in your life, maybe an artist in your life. But just because the world has told you around you that, you know what, no, you have to do a job is your must. That's the only thing that will help you survive in this world. So don't blindly accept it. Find your will to meaning. Have will to meaning. Find the meaning of your life. Why are you doing something? right?
Yes.
And if you find that, you'll be able to maintain a balance in your life, right? For all you know that, yes, you accept that you have to have a job, but maybe you have time after the job to pursue something else that you also want to do. And when that something else reaches a certain stage where you can replace that with your main profession, maybe you can do that as well, right? So
Yes.
maybe there could be ways and means, but what we do is we get so stressed by what we are doing. By the time we reach home in the evening, there's hardly any energy, right? There's hardly any energy left with us. The reason why we don't have energy left with us is because we're not enjoying what we're doing in our lives. Going to an office is just another task.
Yeah.
Okay? The moment that task becomes a joyful activity, you will realize that your stress levels will come down. So when you come back home, you will be all energetic. You will have enough energy and power to do more things, right?
Yes.
And I used to be like this before 2018. When I didn't know the concept of logotherapy, I used to be like this. I used to go to office, go to work, I used to travel a lot, come back and just crash. I would have no energy to do anything, no hobbies, nothing. I was not even focused on my health at that matter, right? Now I have a full-time job. I also run a logotherapy practice. I also study. I also teach. I'm doing my master's now in existential coaching. I'm parallelly also writing my first book, which is coming out next year. I'm also now working on my podcast. I'm working on my social media strategy. My children are homeschooled, so I contribute whatever time I can to their studies as well and take care of them as well. I have a family to take care of. Now, sometimes I myself am surprised as how much energy do I have. And despite that, let me tell you, Pranav, I still find time to watch Netflix.
Wow. that's a
Yeah.
miracle.
So it's when people come to me and say, a concept like I don't have time, you know what I do? I simply laugh on their face. Some of them feel insulted, but they need to feel that pain because time is not something that is infinite with everyone, right? I also have 24 hours in the day, right?
Yeah.
So when somebody comes and says, I am so sick and tired of my office, by the time I reach home, I don't have time to do anything else. I'm like, I look at myself and I say, I also go to work. In fact, I reach work at like 8 in the morning and I come back at 6 in the evening, and still I end up doing so many other things. So if I could do it, you could also do it. I'm not claiming I'm a superhuman. I'm just telling you how logotherapy has helped me in my life.
Yeah.
How finding a meaning and purpose has helped me in my life. Now I sleep well, much better than what I used to sleep earlier. My sleep cycle has become better. My health has become better. I'm eating better food. I'm spending more time with my family. Yet I'm doing a full-time job, and yet I have a logotherapy practice.
Wow.
Okay, so it can help you to rewrite or redesign your life if you have will to meaning. If you really want to find what is the meaning of your life, logotherapy can help you do that.
Well, it seems to me that meaning only can bring a lot of things. Basically, it can bring health, it can bring a lot of time in your life, it can bring a lot of satisfaction in my life. So just
Absolutely.
like going after why does everything.
It does. You need to understand what you are doing in life.
Wow.
If you can define that for yourself, nothing like it. Unfortunately, most of us don't live life for ourselves. We're living somebody else's life. We're living somebody else's expectation. We're living somebody else's responsibility. These are necessary. In logotherapy, Frankl never says run away from your responsibility. He doesn't say leave everything and just go. But he says find a balance.
Yes. Yeah.
That is very important. And if you know your brain, if you know your mind, if you know your heart, everything else falls into place for you. And that's why finding that meaning is so very important.
Beautiful. Okay. Okay, let's come to our next one. This is a really interesting one. So, one of the most interesting or powerful principle of logotherapy is that we can't always control our circumstances, and I believe that's the case for most of the time, and that's how people feel all the time. But again, it also says that we can choose our attitude, and we actually very often don't know how to choose our attitude. So, can you share a compelling example of how someone transforms their suffering by changing their perspective, and how does it happen in actual
So
life?
yeah, so it all depends upon the attitude at the end of the day, how you choose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So Frankl speaks about a fact that there is no concept called freedom in this world.
Yeah.
He clearly says a concept of freedom is a myth,
Mm-hmm.
because true freedom does not exist. And
Mm-hmm.
why it does not exist is very simple. We don't take birth on our own free will, right? Nobody asked us before giving birth.
Yeah.
When we took birth, somebody gave us a name, somebody gave us a gender, somebody gave us a color, somebody gave us food, somebody told us this is what you're supposed to do, this is how you're supposed to behave. You're a boy, you're supposed to be strong. You're a girl, you're supposed to be soft and soft spoken. Everything is defined, right? Everything is compartmentalized for you until you reach a stage in your life, usually during your teens and your youth, where you start questioning everything.
Yeah.
But by the time you start questioning things, this whole kind of robotic, mechanical culture of the world has been seeped into you so much that you can't break free.
Yes.
And that is something that causes you stress in life, right?
Yeah.
That is the main reason why it causes stress in life, right?
Uh,
And hence, Frankl says that there is no true freedom in this world.
mm.
The only real freedom that human beings enjoy is the choice they make,
Yeah.
the attitude they choose towards life. Okay, so even if there is suffering and you're able to find a meaning in that suffering, okay, and you become happy around that suffering, you will be able to transform the way you look at yourself or the way you conduct. So I'll give you a simple example with this. I ended up meeting with a few laborers in the labor camp here in the Middle East. And when we went there, we were a bunch of psychologists who actually went there, and we thought we are going to enter into a very gloomy atmosphere where people are all sad and they are just waiting to complain, and they're kind of going through their own journeys and so on and so forth, right? In stark contrast to that, we actually saw that people were very happy over there, right? People were singing and dancing, and there was a courtyard, and in that courtyard everybody was cooking food and they were sitting together, and there was a bonfire and there was music and dance and everything happening. And when we started talking to people, I specifically remember speaking to two of these people. One was from India and one was from the Philippines. And this one guy, when I asked him that, you're living here in this camp, you're working here in the Middle East, you work for like 12, 14 hours a day, you're a construction worker, and the heat is really bad. You do get food and water, but at the same time, these are not the ideal best conditions, and you are staying away from your family and everything else. Why do you do this, right? And still you're so happy about it. So he just removed a picture from his wallet and he showed me a picture of two of his beautiful daughters. And he said that every morning when the two of them go to school, okay, and go to an English medium school, this is what keeps me going every day. Okay, because his two daughters are the only children from his entire village who go to an English medium school. Okay, and he says, what I couldn't get in my life, the education that I couldn't get or my wife couldn't get in my life, I am now able to give to my children only because of my efforts here. Right? And he says every morning when they go to school, they call me, they do a video call with me, and their smiles are enough for me to be able to handle all of the stress that is happening for the day. That's the meaning of his life. That's the purpose of his life, right? So he chooses to look at the smile of his daughters. He chooses to look at the success of his daughters. He chooses to see the moments when his daughters are talking to him in English, right? Versus thinking about, oh, I'm staying here in this camp, it's 50 degrees, I have to go work 14 hours a day, I don't get enough sleep, I don't get enough food, I'm staying with like 100 other people. He chooses. So his attitude changed completely because he chose the right thing in his life.
Yeah.
Right? That was one example which was very touching to me. The other example was of a Filipino guy, okay, who was again in the same camp. And when I asked him about the circumstances and why is he here, he told me, he said his parents live in southern Philippines where, the cyclones and the typhoons are very common. And in their village that he lives in, because of his work here, they have been able to build the first ever permanent house, like a strong house in the village, right? With proper bricks and cement and concrete and everything else. Earlier, they used to stay in kacha homes, right? And every time there was a cyclone, the homes would be washed away and they have to restart. He said, now because of my efforts here, my parents don't have to move every time there is a cyclone. And not only that, my entire village comes and takes shelter in my house whenever there is a cyclone. So these kind of stories will tell you that when you know your meaning, when you know your clear purpose in life, the suffering ceases to be suffering anymore. Now they had a choice. These two gentlemen had a choice. They could have thought only about themselves, and they would have said, oh my God, I'm staying in such a bad situation, I am useless, I am this, I have bad luck, I have this, I have that. What that will do for them is that will further deteriorate their mental situation and their physical situation.
Yeah.
Because they will not be able to focus on their work at all, right? Whereas now they've chosen to ignore that suffering, but are happy to hear about what's happening in their village or in their hometown, right? So they have a clear meaning in their life. They have a clear purpose in their life. So their attitude helped them to live a good life. So now they've looked at the positive side of things. They're saying, you know what? We are almost 100 people. We stay in this building together. We are like one large family. We celebrate birthdays. We celebrate anniversaries. In fact, the day we went there, they were celebrating somebody's birthday over there.
Wow.
They were cooking together. There was a community cooking. They were singing, dancing. There was a cake that was brought in. There were celebrations. Now, if there are 100 people in the building, obviously there will be celebrations at least 100 days in a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they would celebrate other celebrations also. For example, they were saying that, oh, somebody had a child, so we celebrated the birth of the child. Somebody had, their parents' 50th anniversary, we celebrated that. Somebody had his own anniversary, we celebrated that. Now, when you choose to celebrate life, everything else becomes immaterial to you.
Yes.
But if these people say that, no, we are living in a miserable condition, we are useless, we have bad luck, we are this, we are that, they will forget the celebrations.
Yeah.
So now they're looking at the positive side of things, that because we are here, we've got such a large family, an extended family. They're all taking care of each other. They're all kind of supporting each other because they are all going through the journeys together.
Yeah.
Everybody misses their family. Every time they get an email or a message or a video message, everybody cries. Everybody has an emotional breakdown. But if you are together in that journey, then everything becomes. It's not that in that camp we didn't meet people who were gloomy in nature. We did meet. So we realized that their attitude towards things were very different. We met somebody who was completely frustrated, irritated, annoyed. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't even come to talk to us. There are people like that. But the sooner you realize that we are all in the same boat, that we now have. So that's why Frankl talks about the idea of living in the moment.
Yeah.
Momentary meaning. Find your momentary meaning, right? Live in the now. If you're able to live in the moment and live in the present moment, you can enjoy the present moment.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's also about the choice. When somebody, there was another person who kind of spoke about, when I gave them this example, they said, but you know what? They chose to come there, right? So now they cannot complain. That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Nobody forced them to come there. Maybe circumstances would have forced them to come there, but they eventually physically came there themselves, right?
Yes.
So if they are there now, they might as well make the best use of it. They might as well make the best use of the opportunity that life has given them and use it. And that is why that also helps me to connect this with one of the questions which I know you are probably going to ask me, is how does logotherapy impact your work life as well? How do you kind of use logotherapy in your workplace?
Yes.
These are the examples of how you use logotherapy in your workplace.
Yeah.
If you are able to understand why are you doing this job, why are you running this business, why are you doing this enterprise of running a shop or doing a small business, or being an actor or being an artist or whatever, if you know the why of that, your job will no longer look like a job. You will enjoy it. Because I remember there was this one client of mine who was in a bank, okay, and she was a banker all her life. I think almost 25, 27 years of her life that she worked, she was a banker. And all she did in the bank was manage currency. She would count notes. She was a, what do you call them, tellers, right? She would sit on the cashier desk and give you money, right? She refused so many promotions in her life. She would never take promotions if the bank would give her promotion. Why? She used to love counting money. I mean, very unique passion, but she found joy when she was counting money. She never really wanted to do anything else in her life. Right? So even the simplest of action can bring you joy. And she thoroughly enjoyed her life. 27 years, all she did was count money, 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 money. That's all. But she found joy in that. Right? And the amount of knowledge she had about that thing, like, okay, how the currency notes have changed over the years. She could even tell you the paper GSM, how the paper GSM have changed, the paper material of the currency has changed. She developed that expertise over a period of time.
Wow.
And she enjoyed it. Her children used to always tell her, Mama, you are a fool, you've not taken promotions. People who started with you are today general managers in the bank and you're still a cashier. She never thought that way. She always said, I'm happy in what I'm doing. Maybe if she would have become a general manager, she would have been miserable at it. She would have been really bad at it. So she found her meaning of life, the joy of her life much earlier. And it was fine. She was working because she had to support the family, right? But she found joy in that working. And that is what logotherapy's concept is all about. So enjoy your moment, find your meaning, and do something with a purpose. Understand always, if you are in a job, right? If you're part of a job, there is a very beautiful concept called Kaizen in Japanese, economics and in the economic circles, which became very popular in the US as well. They call it the Toyota way, or the Kaizen is known as the Toyota way. And why they did that is they made people realize that even that one small person who's putting a nut and a bolt in the car process in Toyota factory is as important as the person who's selling the car or a person who's the general manager. Imagine if the general manager goes, sells the car, but this guy has not done his work.
Yeah.
The car will collapse.
Yes.
Right? It's so beautiful to understand that every one of us on this planet are here for a reason.
Yeah.
So if we work in an organization, we're not just working in an organization because we have to fill in a position. That position is important. Yeah. That work is important. Imagine that cashier, if she was not good at counting notes, if she was doing mistakes, if something was happening wrong all the time, if she was giving out wrong notes or wrong denomination or whatever, the bank wouldn't make progress.
Yeah.
The bank's reputation would get harmed because of that. So understanding that we are important as part of an overall process. If you understand that in your work life, that you're an important part of that process, right? Unfortunately, what happens is most of the leaders who are in corporates today, or HR people who are in corporates today, they always have a very, very curt view of everything. You won't do it, I'll find someone else.
Yes.
That puts a lot of pressure on people, right? That does put a lot. So there is a problem with the HR world as well. Instead of, kind of enhancing the skill sets of people who are already there, what you're doing is, I will replace someone. But by replacing someone, you're not getting rid of the problem. Because the problem is not with the person, the problem is with the process of HR in your company. Right? Because every time you find a new person, you have to start again. You have to start again. You have to start again. Okay? Till you find somebody who knows his purpose and meaning and he might be able to deliver.
Yeah.
Rather help people who are not able to do their jobs, try to find out why they are not able to do their job.
Yeah.
Help them enhance their skill sets so that they can do their job. Make them feel at home.
Yeah.
If your CEO, if your team leader can tell you, you know what, you're important to me. How many of us, I've been in corporate life for 27 years, I can tell you, very rarely corporate leaders will sit down and tell you, you know what, you're important to me.
Yeah.
They don't tell you this. They will just say, this is my number. If you don't do it, don't come back to me next time. Don't do this, I'm not going to give you this. You don't do this, I'm not giving you a promotion. Don't come and ask for a raise. Don't do this. Everything is don't.
Yeah.
Everything is negative. Right? Why can't we look at the positive side? Why can't we tell someone, you know what, you're very important to me. I really admire you. Yes, these are the 5 things you do right, but these are the 5 things you have to improve upon.
Yeah.
So again, the attitude can bring a big difference. The attitude with which you speak to your employees will make a big difference. The attitude with which you speak to your colleagues, to your boss, will make a big difference. So the choice of words, the freedom to choose what you want to tell your boss, what you want to tell, how you want to tell your colleagues, can help you build lifetime bonds. And that is what logotherapy helps you to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm really amazed by the insights you are bringing from corporates, because that's what relates with a lot of people out there, and I'm sure the people who are listening, they would relate to it a lot. You brought this insight from corporate, that the corporate culture is very competitive, and it's like almost soul crushing work environment, and people very often find work there just because there is a financial success there, but it's difficult for them to find meaning there, or align the work with their personal values. So how can people do that? And I'm sure that you have given example from people in when you went to the labor camp. How does that work equally for these professionals, just changing their perspective and shifting their perspective to work?
It does. But again, it's not an individual or a standalone perspective, right? Because when you are working in a company, you are part of a larger organization, right? Even what your colleagues will tell you, what your bosses will tell you, what your HR will tell you, what your clients will tell you, that also determines a lot of how you are able to create your own meaning, for that matter, right? However, practically almost every corporate has a bad culture today.
Yeah.
Practically everybody has a bad culture, or somebody will find, even if the corporate says, no, we are great in our culture, and 80%, 90% employee satisfaction and all of that, there will still be a 10% people who will not relate to that culture, who will find this very difficult to adjust to, or whatever. So it depends upon how much you feel confident of adding to that culture as well.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it just takes one person to make a change.
Yes.
Maybe you are that person to bring about that change. And it's a slow process. You cannot just go there and tell somebody that, okay, from tomorrow I'm going to start thinking positive all the time. It's not going to happen. Because you may think positive. If a project doesn't happen, if you lose a project, then what's the positivity in that?
Yes.
Right? At that time, you cannot go and tell your boss, oh, it's good that we lost this project. You say, why? Right? So sometimes you need to kind of try and bring about a balance in what you're doing, in terms of your meaning as well. But at the same time, you have to kind of first make yourself strong enough to understand whether you want to be part of that process or not. Yeah. Most of us, we don't want to be part of these processes. We just want to break free. Why? Because various factors. Maybe we tried, but we are not made to feel welcome. Maybe there is a very strong group of people who control everything, and you are trying very hard to break in and it hasn't happened. Maybe the job you've got is not up to your mark. Maybe you're not talented enough to do it. Maybe you don't like, you're in the wrong field. Maybe you come from a sales background and somebody told you to do finance. You don't want to do that. But as a company, because your boss has told you you have to do it, you will not enjoy these things. Again, in case of the labor camp, for example, if these construction workers were not good at doing what they were doing, which is manual labor, then probably they're in the wrong place. Then they will suffer. Then the only thing that they need to decide is, up to what extent will I suffer? And that's why we always talk about this, and we encourage people also that you should learn to say no. You should know when to stop.
Very important.
Right? And when you know when to stop, or you should learn how to say no, because it's important for you. It's important for you. It's for your own health. It's for your own mental state of mind. It's for your own safety. And because of that, you may be equipped to do something much better in life.
Yeah.
Right? But unfortunately, because of circumstances and because of non-support from family, friends, and colleagues, etc., you just hang on. You're like, okay, this is my destiny, as most of us will say. ये तो नसीब में लिखा है. यही होना है मेरे साथ. But where is it written? Like, who wrote this? Where is this book called Naseeb? There's nothing. Yes, there is an unknown superpower in this world, and there are certain things which we will never understand.
Yes.
Right? But have you given it a shot? Yes, you cannot just walk into an office and say, I don't like the face of this guy, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
That's not what it is, right? Have you given it your 100%? Have you tried your best? If you have tried everything and things have not worked for you, feel free to walk away. The world doesn't end. Okay? And that's why, if you remember, I gave you an example earlier that you should try to find a balance in life.
Yes.
Sometimes doing this stuff parallelly, which could be a part-time hobby, it could be a part-time job, it could be a part-time work, maybe some project that you are doing, maybe that could motivate you, or that could trigger off into something that can become your full-time passion.
Yeah.
Right? And when that happens, then you don't feel the stress, because you're enjoying it.
Yes.
Right? You're enjoying the work. So you need to find that purpose, and you need to find that balance. And you could change other people's perspectives, but you could try with others, but that's not your responsibility. Don't take the stress that I told this guy to do this and he hasn't done it, because it's not in your control.
Yeah.
There's a very beautiful formula I always give all my clients. Always carry 2 buckets with you, ABC and AUC. ABC is actions beyond my control, and AUC is our actions under my control.
Yeah.
So do things which are under your control.
Yeah.
But don't break your head on things which are not under your control. If you keep these 2 buckets with you with yourself every day, you will have a happy life.
Yes. Yeah, we all should have these 2 buckets in our both hands. These imaginary buckets. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay. With these both examples, like in corporate, like when we talked about the work culture, and when you talked about labor camps, the one thing which came up was the connection which were built. It matters the most when we are part of the system, and the system is treating us really well, and the connection which are getting built there. I would like to talk about this concept of self-transcendence, and because we right now we live in a very disconnected world, and what does the self-transcendence look like, and how can people move beyond their personal limitation and to create more meaningful connection, or like what is the role of empathy in this self-transcendence and connection, building connections?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So self-transcendence is a very important concept that Viktor Frankl spoke about. And he said that the moment you start thinking about others, the moment you start putting others before you, you are able to do a lot of things in life which you will not even know. You unearth your own superpowers, so to say. Right. So if I take the same example of the laborers, right? They put their families, their daughters, their parents over their own comfort.
Yes.
Right? They put themselves, these people first before they thought about themselves.
Yeah.
And you know why they were able to do that? Because they thought about themselves first. They made themselves strong enough to handle the stress of life. Because by choosing the right attitude, by choosing the right way of dealing with this situation, by staying positive, by being in a positive environment, right? So if you are able to kind of build that positivity, the wall of positivity around you, that no matter what happens, I will enjoy the moment of where I am. I will enjoy the blessing of life that life has provided me, per se. I will enjoy to live. I will start to live the moment right now. Then they are able to do things for others. So just like Viktor Frankl implied the principle of self-transcendence, where he said, no, I have to survive because I need to go out and I need to meet my wife and my child. He also created another self-transcendence concept, where he said that no, I need to go out from here and write the whole concept of logotherapy so that the world can benefit. He did not think about himself. He got energy, he got motivation, he got inspiration from a larger purpose. And there are so many in this world, right? I mean, we talk about so many great people. I mean, without getting into the details of that, but let's say, for example, Mother Teresa. She is an excellent example of somebody who came out of nowhere, went to the slums of Kolkata and built a Missionaries of Charity as an organization, which today is spread all over the world.
Yeah.
And what did she start with? Nothing. But she kept herself away from everything else. But she said, this is my only purpose in life. I have to do things for the poor.
Yeah.
I have to do things for them. Right? You look at so many leaders around the world. Right? People talk about, let's say, Prime Minister Modi, that he only sleeps for 4 or 5 hours in a day. Right? It's technically, physically bad for him.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But he finds power, he finds energy, he finds motivation, he finds that purpose, that urge in him to do things because he wants to do something for the country. Yeah. Okay. And the same applies to so many other people around the world. Yeah. If you are able to find that one reason to do things beyond yourself, you will be able to understand your own superpower. Yeah. And usually for most people, you get to know your superpower when you become parents.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the moment you become a parent, now your own sleep is not important. You know, you don't worry about, oh, now I need to get my 8 hours or 7 hours of beauty sleep. No. Now your child becomes everything for you.
Yeah.
Specifically for a mother. You know, the child becomes everything. The child becomes the world. So she's not bothered about, oh, I'm only getting 2 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep, or I'm getting broken sleep, or I haven't had a break in so many days. No. Yes, these thoughts do come to her. No doubt about that. She's human at the end of the day. But she understands that her larger purpose in life right now is to make this child strong enough in the formative ages, in the formative days of the child. Right? And she finds a clear purpose. But this again brings me to the point that when you find a clear purpose, when you transcend yourself for someone else, you should never forget your own self as well.
Yes.
Understand the word self-transcendence also has the word self.
Self. Yeah.
Today, why do people in their 40s, especially in their 50s, are going through so much of mental health stress and depression? Okay, because specifically women, they are going through it because they dedicate their entire life to their children, and when children leave to go to college and start their own life, women, they don't know what to do in life. Now mothers don't know what am I supposed to do? Like, my child is gone, my children are gone, what am I supposed to do? Right? And in that journey, why are the number of divorce cases rising amongst people in their 50s? Because they realize that most people today are living in functional marriages.
Yeah.
And how logotherapy helps there as well, because what we are doing is we're living in functional marriages. Right? You have children, the whole life now is dedicated to bringing up the children. But the moment the children leave the house, okay, the vacuum it creates for both the father and the mother, because now the father and the mother don't realize, what are we supposed to do now? Because they forgot about giving themselves time. They forgot about growing their own relationship. They became parents. You know, as there is a joke that after a child is born, the husband becomes papa and the mother becomes, the wife becomes mama. You stop addressing each other by names or by pet names or the love names that you used to call them, right? Everyone's become a mama and a papa after a child is born. And that is what you remain as. So by the time you reach your 50s and your 60s and children move out, now you're like living with a stranger. Now you don't know what to talk, because there's no longer children's conversation. There's no longer the conversation about schools or sending them for a summer camp or sending them for a class or sending them here or sending them there or college admissions or anything. There is no conversation. And that is why I encourage people that if you are married, please find some common time. Find a common activity, maybe a hobby, maybe time to go to the gym, maybe time to go and do some workout. Find some hobby which the two of you could do together. You know, this is very, very important. Because what is happening in today's day and age is we forget about the concept of understanding or taking care of our own self. Right? And that is what takes me back to the original conversation where we started, where Frankl said it's important to have a balance. Don't run away from your responsibility, but also have a balance in your life.
Beautiful. Wow. It's so beautiful to hear this perspective of logotherapy, which works in the relationships. These are beautiful, beautiful insights, and I'm sure the people who are listening right now, they are already enjoying this conversation, and they would take this next step of personal growth journey with us through this our course. I would like to talk about our course now and how this logotherapy in action course is designed, and what would be there, and what we have included this bonus one-on-one session with it, and how important this one-on-one session or personal coaching is. So can you please take all the listeners through this experience? Yeah.
Sure. So this time the course that we've designed is actually meant to give you a practical insight as to how you could use logotherapy. So we just spoke about a few examples of how logotherapy can help you in your relationships, how logotherapy can help you in your work life. There's also an aspect of how logotherapy can help you in your financial management, which again is a very, very important aspect of life, right? It helps you how you can enhance your relationships with your own self, right? So this time what we're doing is, over these 5 sessions that we will do, we will not cover the scientific definitions of logotherapy, which we already did in the first course when we did a few months back. We'll probably come back with that course maybe a little later. But this time it's more about the practical application of logotherapy and how you can use the principles of logotherapy on your day-to-day life and enhance your life. Redesign, as I said, redesign your life. Try to find more time in your life. Try to find more energy in your life. And that is what this course is designed for. The one-on-one session is more going to be a personal session, because there are lots of things that people cannot share while you are in a group class.
Yes.
And my experience has been that this kind of helps participants to open up. And I personally also get to know a lot more about their lives. lot more about their personal journeys and their personal lives, as to where they come from, what is their background, and what are they expecting out of themselves and their lives. And I'm happy to tell you that post the last session that we did,
Yeah.
Which where we had around 6 or 7, a small group of 6 or 7 people.
Yes.
One person has already joined my annual coaching program.
Wow.
Where, we've started discussing the whole idea of redesigning his life
Oh, wow.
in a certain direction using logotherapy. And that's something that I was very happy about, because in the previous session he was able to kind of get a connection with logotherapy, and he realized that how this could help him positively in his life.
Wow.
So while I'm not saying that every one of the participant will end up signing up with me for my coaching program, some people are ready, some people are not. But the good part about this is that the one-on-one session will give you a really good insight as to how you could benefit out of it.
Yeah.
There are usually journeys that I hear, and at the same time I recommend a few things, including readings and including books to people.
Yeah.
And those benefit participants from time to time. And we of course take some of these examples in our group sessions as well, not naming anyone in particular, but just sharing with others in terms of certain experiences that have happened. So I'm very excited about this opportunity, and very excited about meeting a new bunch of people, probably some old ones as well. But if you really want to learn how to use logotherapy in your life, feel free to enroll. I think this will be a kind of a life-changing experience for you. I will try my best to give as many examples, as many perspectives from logotherapy. But more than that, it is going to be more about you coming up with the needs of your life, as to what you really are looking for and what you really want to change. And I hope in these 5 weeks and a bonus one-to-one session after the 6 sessions that we do together, you will be able to find that perspective in you.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Nitin. Like, you have put down each and every part of the logotherapy course, the action course, and beautifully. I'm sure that the listeners who are listening to it, they have got the idea what this course is. And as this course is full of different activities and full of practical approaches, I'm sure it is going to help others. And right in the end, I just want to extend the invitation to the people who are listening to this 5-week transformative course, and this is only limited to 12 participants, and we are going to start this in New Year, 12th of January, and it will give you like all the people who will join, they will get a profound meaning in their life when they will go through this program, and the New Year will be a whole different thing. So thanks, Nitin. Thanks for all the resources, all the experiences you have shared. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks to all the listeners
much.
also.
And Happy New Year to everybody. I hope this 2025 we can make a new start.
Yes.
And a fresh start with a new approach, and more people get to know the meaning of their life and purpose of their life, and make it more meaningful. Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. See you very soon. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
To register for the course, please check the video description below. To learn more, go to www.livingconsciously.com or check our Instagram at Living Consciously.